Happy New Year's, everybody. Today is officially the last day of 2021, at least for you. I'm recording this a couple days early. But wow, I cannot believe we are at the end of 2021 already. It feels like just a couple weeks ago we were hyping up WandaVision, and now we're here hyping up Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We have gone a long way. And this is the first year I've been on YouTube. And by the time this video is out, I will have hit 6 months on YouTube. And that is absolutely crazy to me. Ever since I started this channel, I've been engaging myself more and more into film. And I found quite a few films, countless actually, that have blown my mind in more than one way. And I'm going to talk about my 10 favorite of the year. Now, two things before we start. Yes, I know I missed some movies in October and November, and I will be reviewing those when I get the chance to see them again. And second, I will have the links to the original reviews down below, so if you want to see my in-depth thoughts for those films, check that out down below. Not all the films on this list have a full-length review, but most of them do. And last thing, I know that's 3 things, there will be no spoilers for any of these movies in this ranking, so you're completely safe. All right, now let's get started. In number 10, we have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings wasn't mind-blowing, but it was a lot of fun. I've only seen it twice, but for those 2 times, I think it's really good. But you can tell through repeat viewings that the problems become more apparent. But this film is just great. The action is great all the way through. It's just marvelous, no pun intended. And the relationship between Sean and Katie is one of the best Marvel relationships I've ever seen. I just found myself more and more impressed by their relationship in the second viewing. And the villain was also one of the better Marvel villains, I'd say. His motives were pretty clear, and you could see where he's coming from. But by the end, it seemed like he went too over the top with, like he went too crazy, and I feel like he would have seen himself, like seen what he's doing to himself a while before. But overall, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is a great time, and I recommend you check it out. Number 9 is A Journal for Jordan. I know this one didn't get that many great critic reviews, but I still loved it nonetheless. It was a very sweet and emotional film. Michael B. Jordan and Shantae Adams are just phenomenal in this film. There's no other way to put it. They knock it out of the park and then some. I haven't seen the movie again, and I had my review out like a week after I saw it. But I watched some of the clips they released on YouTube, and I am just blown away by how amazing they are in just those couple of clips. And the rest of the romance is also very well handled. And even though I've heard critics say that this movie is boring and there's a lot of things that drag it down, and I can see the average moviegoer being bored by this film. But ever since I saw Dune, I've been nicer on slower movies, and I wasn't too bored by this film. And also, this film accomplished what very few can. It made me cry my eyes out. This film just built up so much, and by the end, and when I saw the end, it just broke me. It was truly incredible. So overall, A Journal for Jordan is probably the best romance movie I've ever seen. Sorry, West Side Story. And I highly recommend you check this out. It's been in theaters for about a week now, so I recommend you check it out. Number 8 is No Time to Die, my favorite James Bond movie ever. And I know that most people prefer Casino Royale and Skyfall over this, but I don't. I think this is the best James Bond film 100%. And I'm not going to go fully in depth with this because I do plan to review it in the near future after I finish all the other James Bond movies. So let's just talk briefly about this film. Number one, the action. The action is like mind blowing. It's not the best action I've seen, but I will say it has the best action sequence like I have ever seen. I was just blown away. This film also looks beautiful. It's not anything like Dune sizes, but for a James Bond film, it's spectacular. Daniel Craig is very great in this. I didn't see Spectre, but I have heard that he didn't want to play the role in there. And it doesn't feel like he's there 100%, but it does feel like he really wants to give his area a closure, and he's not just in it for the paycheck for the most part. Rami Malek as Safin is also very great. I don't know if he's my favorite Bond villain because there are quite a few Bond villains that I like a lot, but I'd say he's one of the best. He's very intimidating, and although his motives aren't very clear, you still feel the tension in the scene. And this is a James Bond film where I didn't know if the main characters would be okay, and that's rarely accomplished by a James Bond film. So overall, No Time to Die is my favorite Bond film. I haven't seen every James Bond film yet. I don't think it's moving anytime soon. Number 7 is Encanto. Encanto just dropped on Disney Plus, so you should go check it out. And I could just end it there, but let's just talk a little more about this. On my second viewing, I still love this film. I didn't love it more, but I still did love it about the same. My only real critique with this film, I'd say, is that when you watch it the second time, there's not much going on because they stay in one location, and I feel like to kids that just want like kind of like a globe-trotting movie, well, not globe-trotting, just different locations, they might get a little bored by this film. But besides that, this film just nails everything. The family members are all great. There are many satisfying arcs to these characters, and it's just amazing to see. This movie is only an hour and 50 minutes, and they somehow managed to give most of the characters in a satisfying act. There are a couple that I don't particularly like, but I think it's because the movie is kind of purposely trying to make them a little annoying. The animation in here is also beautiful. I can't tell if it's the best Disney animation, but it's up there. It's just so spectacular to look at. And the emotion, while not as strong as the second time, is still pretty impactful, and it's just an overall great film that I highly recommend you check out. And number 6 is Free Guy. Free Guy is just an amazing movie. It's underrated. Even the critics are at 82%, and that's still, I feel, underrated. This film is just such a joy. I've only seen it 2 times, which I've seen most of these movies on here only 2 times. And while not as strong as the first viewing like Encanto, it's still pretty strong. I think after you get through the first 45 minutes or so, the movie just never stops entertaining you, and you're given so much humor, emotion, and compelling story throughout. And while the ending is not entirely satisfying, it's still a pretty nice ending to a film. And overall, just check out Free Guy because it's incredible. Number 5 is In the Heights. Now, I feel like this is critics' like top 3 movies. Ever since the reviews came out, and I haven't heard much about it after, but they said it's the best movie of the year so far, and I can see that. There's just 4 other movies that I liked better than this, but overall, In the Heights is like spectacular. The music is outstanding. Most musicals I will tap my foot, but this music just makes you feel so good. Even more of the more emotional songs, there's not that many. They still find a way to get they still find a way to be upbeat and super fun to listen to. I've watched this movie 3 times, and every time I listen to it, at least 5 of the songs are stuck in my head for 3 to 4 days. It's very incredible. All the characters are very likable, and they don't feel forced. And this is probably the highest the movie on the list that feel. This is probably the most. This is probably the movie on the list that feels most like real life. It felt like this could just be happening like right now as we speak. It's just so incredible. And this film has sort of a twist at the end. It's not that big, but it makes perfect sense, and it just increases the movie somehow. Overall, In the Heights is fantastic. Check this movie out like right now. If you have HBO Max, check it out right now. Number 4 is The Mitchells vs. the Machines, the best animated film of the year. This film just holds up so well over multiple viewings. I think I've seen this movie 5 times now, and it's just consistently holding up. Let's talk about the animation. The animation, I'm tied between Into the Spider-Verse and The Mitchells vs. the Machines animation. Into the Spider-Verse blew my absolute mind when I first saw it, and The Mitchells vs. the Machines might have blown it even more. This animation is just so beautiful and vibrant and expressive, and I think it's more expressive than Into the Spider-Verse somehow. The comedy in this movie also works, but I think it's the family elements that work the best. I felt like this was an actual family. I felt like everything they were going through could and probably would happen in real life. And the story all between it just works so well. Like so well. It's really incredible, and I highly suggest you check out this film. If most of you probably have Netflix, so just check it out right now. Or buy it on or probably just buy it on Blu-ray to support this movie. In third place is Dune. Dune, there's no other way to put it except masterpiece. This should just be plastered all over the DVD cover. It's just so immersive. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but 3 minutes into this movie, I don't care what else happens. I know that this movie is going to be amazing, and that I'm going to love it all. Denis Villeneuve just knocks it out of the park. It's like he's given a multitude of baseballs, none of them which hit the field. It's such a treasure, and the only real problem we had was that we didn't know that if part 2 was going to happen. But now that we know, we appreciate this film even more because we know that part 2 is going to happen. The characters, the world building, the action, the sound effects are all just insane. They're top tier, 10 out of 10, A+, 5 out of 5, everything. It's incredible. I wasn't the biggest Dune fan before this movie came out, but now I'm on the Dune train, probably never getting off. And here's hoping part 2 can be as good or better as this one. In second place is Tick, Tick, Boom. Tick, Tick, Boom is probably the only film on this list that gets better with repeat viewings. I just watched it again today, and it got better and better. I appreciated everything about this even more. Emotion, near perfect. The songs, amazing. The story, incredible. The cast, phenomenal. Just everything about this movie that is amazing. And I know I've said this about a lot of films, but this film truly feels unreal. It feels so well crafted that it doesn't feel like a person made this. It feels like an actual biopic made in the 1990s, and it's just somehow lost footage finally found. It's this amazing, and the emotion just sticks with you. You feel all the characters. You feel their crappy life. You feel unsafe. And if a film can do that, I think it's a pretty dang good film. So overall, Tick Tick Boom is absolutely breathtaking, and I love it all. In first place, you probably already guessed it, Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, I haven't gotten a chance to see this film again yet, but honestly for this, I don't think I need to. It's been more than a week, almost two, since I have seen this film, and it has just stuck with me. I remember probably half of the movie. It's insane. Every person in this movie, the Home trilogy, they're the best they've ever been in the Home trilogy. Like, everything that I loved about the Home trilogy is just cranked up to an 11 in this movie. The only real problem I can think about this movie is that it's a little slow, even the first time around. But I have pushed that out of my brain because there's so much more in here that is worth looking forward to. The action, the humor, the fan service, all perfect. I didn't review Ghostbusters Afterlife. That nostalgia felt kind of forced. Like, it felt like they shouldn't. It felt like it didn't really need to happen. Spider-Man No Way Home. The nostalgia in Spider-Man No Way Home needed to happen. It needed to happen because it had satisfying arcs, not just to the Home trilogy, but the other Spider-Man trilogy, and maybe even the MCU. Because after you see this film, what more can there be for the MCU? How are they going to knock it out of the park again? Doctor Strange, Black Panther 2, The Marvels? I don't think so. It's going to take years for a film like this to ever come along. And I don't think it's ever going to come along, if we're being completely honest. Not in this size, at least. Because I can find nothing comparable to this, except maybe, just maybe, Avengers Endgame. But I wasn't into Marvel when that movie came out, so I can't really say that I felt the same way that I did with Avengers Endgame with Spider-Man No Way Home. But through all this fan service, action, everything, the thing that stuck with me most is the emotion. The emotional moments, even when I think about them, I still get a little sad, because all the emotional moments in this film are going to stick with me for a long time. It's so sad and yet so beautiful and so perfect. This film is straight up a Japanese anime, because there's just so many arcs, just in this film, not the entire experience, just in this film. 2.5 hours, just so many arcs coming together and wrapping up in a satisfying way in just a 2.5 hour movie. This film just satisfied me on so many levels, and I don't think I'm ever going to forget this movie. So that was my ranking for the 2021 films. Share your list down below. Check out my other channels if you want, also with the other reviews. You can also check out my Letterboxd, where I post new reviews early, and you can also see the full 2021 list. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye!